That's easy. At any level, whether it's high school, graduate school, or professors, they should all read a book by Norton Juster called The Phantom Tollbooth. It was originally, I think, written for children. It's got gorgeous illustrations by the cartoonist Jules Pfeiffer. But it's a story of just a boy who gets a toll booth for Christmas, doesn't know what to do, and he exercises his imagination to go and find the princesses of rhyme and reason and defeat the kings of dictionary world, Dictionopolis, and mathematics world. I forget the name of that one. And it's a romp, but it also is gloriously funny and establishes the importance of perspective in our everyday life. I think without that, you really don't have a grounding on reading literature laterally and empathetically. In this great university of ours, there is one frequent problem in every class. And it can be a graduate class, and it can be an introduction class, and it can be an honors class. In that you have the kids in the front who are ready to go, high octane, 93 unleaded, ready to pump it out. Those people are super smart, they're ahead of you. You say something and they say, that reminds me of a Lacanian lozenge I saw in the last class on Derrida. I think, what the? And then people in the back signed up because it was a good time, 8:30 to 9:45 fit in the slot. They needed a course, they got to graduate, and hey, this Joyce guy looks interesting. And so it's a bit like driving a highway in what is now all of Germany, but used to be East Germany, where you have the incredibly fast cars, and then you have the trucks belching gasoline, and you're trying to weave. If they were all going the same speed, damn, you could really go. If it was a truck lane, you would say, okay, I'm going to turn on the radio. But it's the overcorrection and the whiplash, it's quite literally whiplash, that you get from, we're on fire, we're moving, the class is just clicking, and then suddenly there's a question that says, so what was modernism anyway? And you think, oh God. So what happens at OSU, which I love, is that you have to be able to teach at two levels. You have to entertain the people in the front with regular, ordinary information that everybody needs in such a way that you allow them to say, we already know this, but this is important, and you're sort of teaching that at a meta level. Reversely, you have to be able to inform the kids who are just really not ready for this class in ways that says, someday you'll get this. And so you really have to be able to teach both to the lay audience and to the professionals. And that's a skill that everybody needs. This morning it was a really, really good maple pecan twist that I had at Pistachio Vera. Back when I was 11, it was a trip to the Imperial War Museum with my dad, who took me to see the Spitfires in the great hangar there in London, and I just looked at the planes and I knew they were important in the Battle of Britain. I didn't know why, I still didn't know after the trip, but I knew that's what I wanted to study, and so I wrote a book on the literature of World War II, Battle of Britain, the Blitz, how the great writers of the modern period dealt with this extraordinary event in their writings. And so I was really a sort of a history major to start with, kind of. I mean, I wanted to know the sort of the cultural impact. The most important book for me was Paul Fussell's Great War in Modern Memory. I wanted to write a sort of Second World War version of that, not knowing that he was about to do the same thing, so much for that. But no, it was, I think if you want to go back to this or moment, it was that trip to London to see the planes. I always knew that I hated English, that it was my worst subject. I got a B on my senior paper on four quartets. I've written 2 books about T.S. Eliot, but I got a B on four quartets, and I sent a copy of that book to my 12th grade English teacher to say, I hope this is a little better than my senior paper. It just didn't work for me. What I wanted to do was either mathematics, which I really enjoyed, or music. And there's obviously a connection between those two. Everybody has appreciated that since the trivia and quadrivia in the medieval times and since Pythagoras. But it was important to me to keep playing. There's a cello in the back. I'm a very poor cellist. I've only started since 6 years ago. But I've been playing the piano since I was 48 years younger than I am now. And pause for elementary calculation. And I always wanted to be a classical pianist and had intended to push that as far as I could go. And it wasn't until I went to a sort of concert of some great pianist, I think it was Murray Pariah, and I realized there are about 6 of them. But there are about 600 English professors. So the odds were better in that area. So it was just a calculated gamble. Behind you on my left, you will see, you can't see it, there is the work of Seb. It's sort of the books that I've written over time. And they attenuate over time. I was big on writing, and then it was not quite so much, and then, okay, I have to get promoted, and then it was, let me help people edit their books. I'm more of an enabler of literary work than actually a writer of it now. I love, the best thing I ever wrote was a short 10-page piece on a creative nonfiction piece. It was, when it was published by the Antioch Review, it meant more to me than any book I'd ever written, just the fact that I said something about myself. Every now and then I send poems to be rejected by the various places where poems are rejected. To me, the writing game was important. It got me here. It is very important for me to continue every weekend to read manuscripts by people for the Joyce series that I edit, to make good assistant professor work, better, and to get them tenured. But why would I displace them with The Thoughts of Seb, Part 17? I was just there on Saturday. The Eastern Shopping Mall. It turns out to be a bad place for dads to be with their adolescent sons. Picking him up from the movie, I was clearly an embarrassment. I was wearing the wrong thing. I didn't understand my iPhone. For me to use Siri in a shopping mall as a dad was clearly intolerable. And I realized that Eastern basically is a sign of the apocalypse. It's one of the suburban horsemen of the apocalypse. The contribution to The Ohio State University is, I think, actually our 13 staff at the English department at OSU. Anybody who comes in to English is going to be a little scared because the building is terrifying and legendary on the Twitterverse as the scariest building on campus. They come to the 4th floor, the elevator works for once, they feel good about the sort of strange lime tile that reminds them of some place they took their SATs, in 10th grade. And they walk in the door and there are superb staff who care deeply about their students and who care deeply about the university. And there's a real bond here. This is more than football, it's more than the fact that Columbus has really renovated and recharged itself over the last 25 years that I've been here. When I came here in 1987, they had the Columbus 500 sponsored by Reichert Ford, where they just drove around in huge Ferrari cars around a loop of Marconi Boulevard and Broad Street. And you thought, what the hell is going on in this town? Now I think we've lost that Wild West mentality and become really a place that people love to stay. And I've stayed for 25 years.